Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games, and I want to talk about the year 2022. All right, so let's review the year 2022. I actually just went through my day planner, and I have a passion planner. I highly recommend it. It's a great day planner. And one of the things that it features is at the end of the month, there is a month end review, and at the end of the year, there's a year end review. And so I sat down this morning and I flipped through the entire year and kind of looked back on what was accomplished and what I had hoped for, what actually got done, and some of my reflections on those things, high points, low points, all of that. And so, as a point of reference, going into 2022, I had just separated from my partner of 12 years. I had moved into the Breaker Press studio in order to figure out what I was going to do next in terms of living situation for me and my elderly pit bull, Ian McCanine, and just trying to, figure out what was next. But one of the things that I am really good at times is avoiding my problems. And so I basically just went nose in straight into Breaker Press content and kind of tuned out the things that I should have been working on at the time. I was in survival mode and I was doing what I needed to survive. So I put a lot of time into Cleft in the Mangled Hills and Hillwood Camp. I was super excited about those things and launched a Kickstarter for those in Zine Month. It was the second most successful Kickstarter that Breaker Press has ever done, if I recall correctly. And it was an exciting way to start out the year. During that time, I put in an offer on a house, successfully bought the house and moved into the house in March. And right around that stuff was happening, I shipped Standard Courier Volume 1, go me. I went to GaryCon and got to meet Jen Brinkman and James Posnell and Daniel Bishop and hang out with a bunch of other DCC people that I had already known and good friends and people that I was excited to see and spend time with. And that's where my head was at with everything. And then things kind of started to spiral a little. I missed the ship date in April for the Protectorate of Genulane. That was a huge blow. At that same time, between the stress of moving into the new house and stress at work, and then the relationship situation, I got shingles, which, it's latent chicken pox, but it's triggered by stress. And so I was recovering from shingles. Get into May, and it was a start of a series of actually, wonderful, vacation-y type things with my ex. Went on a couple of camping trips and went to Europe. There was a lot of really, really good times and positive moments. It felt really good. But then while all that was happening, I missed the Cleft in the Mangled Hills ship date. Then I got COVID right before Gen Con, missing Gen Con. So, pros and cons. I was trying to salvage this relationship that was very important to me, but at the same time was between work and everything else just kind of floundering as far as Breaker Press went. The one positive thing, I did try to maintain some level of creativity and positive vibe. I had at that point dropped all of my gaming groups, which makes it hard for me to stay creative and motivated. But I released a pamphlet adventure called Cacophonous Bandits for DCC. I released another pamphlet adventure for Bump in the Dark by my good friend Jex Thomas. Both of those came out at the end of the summer, and was just trying to keep my brain going on being creative and trying to get back into a routine so that I could get Protectorate of Genulane and Cleft in the Mangled Hills / Hillwood Camp out to people. So then the pamphlet adventures, they were a really positive thing for me also, in terms of I had struggled to figure out what I was going to do with Patreon, because I had patrons that would occasionally at the end of a month be like, oh, not a whole lot of stuff came out this month, not a whole lot of posts, and I would feel terrible, but I was struggling creatively. But and I had also tried to set up game days where I would run in online games for my patrons, and none of it seemed to be working. And it wasn't until I did these 2 pamphlet adventures that I was like, oh, this is something that I can provide to people, because there's something about my brain in small bites. We'll talk about ADHD a little bit again later in this video, but my brain works really well with small projects. And so I was like, okay, the way I'm going to be able to utilize Patreon and do it successfully is to do these really small projects, pamphlets that are like 1 or 2 pages. And so with that plan in place, I actually started cranking stuff out. Cacophonous Bandits, I decided to ship those to not only my Patreon backers, but also to everybody that had backed the Protectorate of Genulane. I also shipped out in the month of October was Cacophonous Bandits. In November was the Canine, and December was the Bruiser, which are 2 different character classes that were put into compact pamphlets. And so I was like, all right, this is something that I can maintain. This is something that works with where I'm at with my brain and everything that's going on. So back to other things that were going on. So Trevor Stamper asked me to join the cast of the Scrivenery, which is a Goodman Games Twitch show where we discuss third-party publishing. That was an honor to be asked to join that, and I will be continuing to do that in 2023. I went to GameholeCon in October, and that had some high highs and some low lows. My first 2 games I knocked out of the park. It was fantastic. I was walking on air. And then I had a couple, I tried to run the Protectorate of Genulane, which is normally supposed to be a one-on-one adventure. I ran that. I tried to run it for 6 people, and I had people getting up and walking around and looking bored. And sometimes you have an idea and you want to do a thing, and it crashes and burns. And so GameholeCon, I did end up ultimately ending on a very positive note with the playtest of the Furnace Tower. But overall, it started out real high, then kind of tanked, and then went back up again. But it was a learning experience, and I'm glad that I did it. And just hanging out with people, got to hang out with, once again, old friends, got to meet Bob Brinkman finally in person, and John Wilson. And so that was really awesome. And so, what else? Okay, so we go back into the dark times, because in October, my partner and I finally hard separated, and I crashed and burned. I took it real hard. Still taking it real hard. And so yeah, and at the same time, I discovered that something that my ex had long speculated, that I have ADHD. And after watching some videos, I discovered that, oh, yeah, this affects everything. This affects my ability to get projects done. This affects going back years, all the way to my childhood, how I performed in school and all of these different things. And so I went through a whole grieving process with that. But the positive, and I talked about this in another video, is I started the steps of, 1, I watched a million videos on ADHD. I contacted a doctor. got prescribed anti-anxiety and anti-depression medicine that, because of our healthcare system here in the U.S., I still don't have. But that's a whole other story. I was very proud of myself for getting to a doctor, meeting with somebody, and starting the steps to fix the issues that I've been dealing with. And so I think that's a plus. Ultimately, I shipped all those Patreon rewards that I talked about. I looked back on the year and I recorded 23 YouTube videos. I did have the goal of recording 26. That was in my day planner. But 23, I'll take it. I'll take that as a success. That was a win. I started a brand new in-person gaming group. We've had 4 sessions so far. It has been fantastic. It's got my brain cranking on creative stuff. And I've been working really hard on Hillwood Camp. Hillwood Camp is almost done. It would have been done this weekend if I hadn't decided to add an extra 8 pages. Hopefully the extra pages will be worth the wait. And ultimately, the positive thing that I want to end on, with all of the sadness and depression and the ADHD and all these things, I survived 2022. And it may not seem like a big thing, but for where I was at various points in the last year, I'll take that as a win. So I'm sorry to everyone that has been waiting for the Protectorate of Genulane for Cleft in the Mangled Hills and Hillwood Camp. Cleft and Hillwood Camp will be done soon. We'll talk about all of that in the what's to come in 2023. But I do think, despite all the down and sadness and what have you, there were some wins this year, and I am really thankful for everyone's support and patience in all of it. So that was 2022. Let's hope for a better 2023. Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for supporting indie games and indie game designers. This is Nick, signing off.